I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry from the waters lifting me. Now safe am I, and my past keeps me from returning to it. For it was God that brought me through it. And when the memories come rushing back to try and sway my walk, His Spirit, oh, His Spirit begins to talk. All my heart to Him I give, ever to Him I'll cling. In His blessed presence live, ever His praises sing. Love so mighty and so true merits my soul's best songs. Faithful love and service to Him belongs. My past keeps me from returning to it, for it was God that brought me through it. And when the memories come rushing back to try and sway my walk, His Spirit, oh, His Spirit begins to talk. He is the author and perfecter of my faith. He is able now to keep me all my days. I want nothing but His presence all my life. He promised to be within this stripe, for past keeps me from returning to it. For it was God that brought me through it. And when the memories come rushing back to try and sway my walk, His Spirit, oh, His Spirit begins to talk. My past keeps me from returning to it, for it was God that brought me through it. And when the memories come rushing back to try and sway my walk, His Spirit, oh, His Spirit begins to talk.
There are places in the world that feel cold and out of place. There are scenes that make you crumple into sand. There are things still left untold. Some things make you question grace, but don't you let them get life out of hand. In your house I find real peace. In your house we find the least. In your house the weary enter into rest. In your house is true release. In your house is warmth and ease. In your house is where life truly is the best. I can only see the now, and it makes me ask how come life never handed me a silver spoon. Truth is I never bowed, only gave to you my song. Yet you called me out and brought me in your room. In your house I find real peace. In your house I find the least. In your house the weary enter into rest. In your house is true release. In your house is warmth and ease. In your house is where life truly is the best. yourself be undone. In your house I find real peace. In your house we find the least. In your house the weary enter into rest. In your house is true release. In your house is warmth and ease. In your house is where life truly is the best. In your house I find real peace. In your house we find the least. In your house the weary enter into rest. In your house is true release. In your house is warmth and ease. In your house is where life truly is the best.
Word up, people. How everyone's doing today? Um, it's always fun when you can see uh, certain things come to fruition. Um, remember some months ago, I told y'all um, whenever we get into um, meaty stuff, things that actually affect directly the continuing of your faith. There is a mad drop off from people wanting to hear. But you speak of something that is emotionally charged all over it. It's a good confirmation, not a bad one, a good confirmation of what the word recommends as the sign, which is few. Few follow. Anyhow, today, um, we're going to dive into something a little bit more secular, but not really. I'll give an update of everything. Today's a painful day, just so you know. They started off fine. All of a sudden, it's not. So anyway, um, the situation that's going on right now in Minnesota is an interesting one to see from a perspective of those who say they are Christian. The crazy part about it is that the majority of people that say they're Christian are in disagreement with this particular event, with how things are going. They are upset. Some of them even mad to the point where they say that God wouldn't allow this. And I think a lot of it comes from this concept that they believe that anyone who says they're a Christian is a Christian. So if the people that are supposedly in positions of power say they are Christian, then a certain type of behavior should follow. And it's listen here, saying that you're a Christian again isn't what makes you one. Secondarily, the laws of man and man laws are not God's law. And I see them also bringing in this whole idea of he wouldn't turn away and he wouldn't do this and he wouldn't do that. And there are rules in the Bible that talk about the sojourner and the stranger in your land. And they seem to forget that does not mean a political kingdom. He was speaking directly to his people. And it always led back to showing them courteous ways in their own world because of what? Trying to show God to them. This wasn't talking about the land of any other entity. It wasn't referring to the Canaanites. It wasn't referring to the Pharaoh. It wasn't referring to any of those people. It was his people. Now, if you want to tell me that the church should be accepting people and helping them out, I can see that. But this particular situation with the shooting in Minnesota, the two of them so far, have nothing to do with us. Nothing. Zip, zero, zilch. Nothing. You are expecting the laws of man to overlap or follow the track of God's law. But you're the same people that would allow the law that man put down to allow gay marriage and to allow abortion. But all of a sudden now you find your Christian spirituality when it comes to this. You see, it's convenient, but that's natural to you because that's what you normally do anyway in your Christian walk. You pick and choose where you find the line to cut off. He told you to obey the laws of the land. He told you that. He said it to you in Titus. Remind them to be submissive to rulers and authorities and be obedient and be ready for every good work. He told you that. He said it to you again in Peter. Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be the emperor as supreme or as governors as sent by them to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, and by doing good, you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. The law of the land is, if you come here without papers and are a criminal to a violent extent, you get put out. That's the law. Do not bring Christ into this, trying to say, well, we need to be, that's not the law of the land. I don't understand how we got here. I don't know how we got here. We are now seeing people saying they're Christian, doing the complete opposite things of the word and then calling it the word and saying, oh, you definitely should, and definitely should, and definitely should. God said this and God said that. And while I don't know the details behind the second shooting, I do have common sense. So let me put some common sense out there to you. If you, this should help some people, if you, hear me out carefully, have a problem with how the law works, then maybe you should not try to confront the law with something that they can perceive as dangerous. Stand with your side. Say all you want. That's part of the law. But the instant you decide to show up to an event, to a location, and you see that you're going to just be there with something that can be perceived as trouble and problematic, you're not using critical thinking. And for the believers, so-called believers, that say this is a bad situation, bad, why would the government do this? Because this is the government. We're not talking about the kingdom of heaven. We're not talking about the kingdom in you. We're talking about man-made government. And you should be able to look at regular church and say, hey, look, these people say they're of God, but they do the complete opposite. Same thing. Did he deserve to die? I can't decide that. I can't say he was stupid to do what he did, and there are results for being stupid. I can say that. I can say that both of them were stupid, the woman in the car and this guy. They were stupid for doing that. Park logic, you get the logical conclusion. What do you want me to do about that? Happens all the time. All the time. But please don't try to conflate the kingdom of God to the laws of man. They're not the same. The laws of man are fickle. The laws of God are absolute. Yeah, he was part of an agitation group there to interrupt the process that they were doing. We're trying to get a hold of the chat actually from that event. There was a leaked chat where there was even people from the the government in Minnesota that were in that chat planning to interrupt. Understand, loss of life is loss of life. I get that. I get all that. But you know how often that happens and nobody cares? For you Christians out there that have an issue with this, right? Let me put a question to you. I want to put a question to you. And I want you to answer honestly. By the law of the land, which is what you're supposed to abide by, okay? Did any of you who decided to follow the mandates of the jab, did you call out your other friends who didn't follow? Did you? Were you one of those? Were you one of those believers that were absolutely chewing out other believers who didn't want to put something on their face, who didn't want to take an experimental thing in their body? Were you one of those people? Back then, you cared about the law of the land, right? That was all the rage, was the law of the land. The law says, the rule says, the law says, right? But not now. Now it's different. Mind you, one's a mandate. So I want to know exactly how you make that differentiation. You were the same people that kicked people out of church if they didn't want to. You shut them out. You kicked them out of service. You blocked them from coming. You alienated Christians because they didn't want to comply with this particular mandate. That's what you did. That's what you did. And even then, when people got fined for disobeying this particular rule, you applauded that they got fined. Now remember, the Bible says that you can be judged judge not lest you be judged, for by the same measure that you judge, it'll be used to you, right? So for those of us who decided we weren't going to take the stick, no pokey pokey, the consequence for that was no work, no access. We were fine with that. See, that's the consequence of the action. If the action is to not, then the action result is to not participate. And we were fine by that. We had no problem. But you, as a Christian, did have an issue. Now the shoe's on the other foot, though. The shoe's on the other foot. Here's the law. Here's it being upheld. Whereas prior, we didn't go to do what you did. We didn't go to the point where we fought back to the point where we wanted to be violent against these church buildings, places of business. We just didn't go. We just didn't go. But somehow, this is different. The law, which has been in place for a long time, is that if you come in without legal representation from the country you're leaving and legal acceptance from the one you're going into, you cannot enter. It is no different than your house, because when you're put to the test, you don't want to welcome the hobo off the street, which is actually part of God's mandate to you. I don't see hardly any of you doing this, especially the ones complaining about what's going on. I don't see you going out to Lowe's parking lot, the corner store, at the gas station, grabbing a homeless person, taking them to your house, showering, feeding, and then giving them a place to stay till they. I don't see you doing that, though. You talk, but I don't see you doing that. For those of you that have churches, I don't see you doing that. You have shower stalls at these churches, buildings, I should say. You have a pantry. Not a one of you goes through the town and just rounds up as many homeless people, take them there, and have them shower and stay. Y'all don't do that. But you're quick to complain about the laws of man being enforced when you won't even enforce the laws of God. Y'all are wild for that one. Absolutely wild for that one. There's some good friends of mine that have posted some insane stuff. Their thought process goes all the way off the rails. This particular situation with Pretti is not a issue for the church. It's not, because if it was, he would have cared about his soul before he lost it. You in Minnesota would have cared about his soul long before the shooting happened. Same thing with Renee Good. Now you know about her life being ended, but you didn't care about her life when she was around. I'm sure the church knew about her issues before. The husband dying, her turning to the lesbian way of living, situation with her kids. Y'all never stepped in then. And all of a sudden, y'all find your moral high ground. Can't believe, what would God do in this situation? God, all of a sudden, God show up. Face all over the place. Because it's not their job. Their mandate isn't to feed the needy. That's the church's mandate. I think we've gotten to this place where we think that the government should be doing something that they were never, ever, ever, ever in the business of doing. Not one of these entities has ever done that. Not a single governmental entity to this day has ever done the second thing in your report, which is feeding the needy. Not a one. Not the Roman, not the Byzantine, not the Asian, not the Persian, not the Medes, none of them. None of them have been going at feeding the poor. They've all been about conquering and war. It's always been its goal, because that's man's way. That's man's way. God, however, set his people to be different. And right now, his people ain't doing any different. His people are still looking to the government to change the things that he asked them to do. Here, look at this. Somebody's there's a place, and as much as I don't like them, they have a place called the Catholic Services, right? And what they do is they primarily work with illegals to get legal. They represent them, they walk them through, they figure them how to go through the needed paperwork. They will raise funds to pay for the immigration process. You want to do something to keep them here? You could do that. You don't do that. That would be abiding and rendering to Caesar's what is Caesar's. Don't do that. You have mad amounts of mega churches with billions of dollars that say they care about this situation going on, and it's become too volatile, but not a lick of them will put money to aid and to get people into legal standing where they can stay. Not one of them. And they have the ability, the funds, and the reach to do it. Want to conflate the world with the church like you've always been doing. The government is not there to be God. God is God, and he has his people to do what he wants to do. But the so called representation in the public eye of churches has not been what it's supposed to be. They don't look after the widow, they don't look after the orphans, they don't do any of that. They do not take in the sojourner, they don't feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick. They don't do none of that stuff. They want tongues, they want spiritual gifts, they want a bigger building, they want more people, they want more reach. And then when Big Daddy government does what Big Daddy government always does, where is God in the God's not in the government? That's where he's not. He has his own government. And you are supposedly part of the hierarchy there and you're not doing anything. Let me see something here. All right. So I'm looking at 10 mega churches across Minneapolis. 10. Okay. Grace Church is the number one. And Grace Church, let's see how many pebbles they have. gracechurch.com. Ministries. Let's see what kind of ministries they have. Let's look at the so-called ministries they got, okay? This is the location where it's all going down. This is them, Grace Church. A men's ministry, a women's ministry, young adults, couples, community groups and classes, kids, parent resources, special needs, care groups. Let's see what the care groups is. Let's see if that includes it. Small group come together for a defined season to address a key need or season in their lives and offer biblical support. Special needs. Let's see what that is. Disabilities. So far, nothing, right? Let's see the community groups. Let's see that. Authentic community goes deep into the word. So it's just about internal stuff. You see what I mean? Let's look at another one. The other one, other than Grace, is Eagle Brook Church. These are considered mega churches, by the way, in case you're wondering. All of these are considered mega churches. I don't want anybody thinking that there's some random small churches that I picked. These are mega churches. Glad you're here. Give, watch, about. Empowered by God to reach others for Christ. No matter your story, we'd love to meet you. Stepping into a church can feel overwhelming. What you learn on Sunday, connected to community. What exactly they do? Let's see. Make a difference. What you doing? In honor to introduce and work with Offering Hope Relationship, Mobile Hope with food. The dwelling place offers a traditional housing, transitional housing, and Christ-centered support for women and children who have suffered domestic abuse. Let's see what that's about. I'm curious. Paste. Go. Where abuse ends and healing begins. That's it. That's all they do. It's just wild to me. But what should Christians do? Christians this and Christians this and Christians this. Would Jesus have taken a gun to a violent protest? Would Jesus have gone to a violent protest? Quit playing the Christian card. Can you clarify? If you don't mind, just clarify. I don't want to read that wrong. If you don't mind. There are multiple ways to read that, and I don't know how to read it. What you actually mean, I don't know. The fact of the matter is the church has not been doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're in the situation that we're in this country because the church hasn't been churching. The church has been doing everything but churching. Everything but churching. I don't see the response. People claiming Christians would do or not do a certain thing based on faith. But that isn't okay. Can you answer my question? I'm still confused. Please, I'm not trying to fight nothing. I just want to get clarification on what you meant. That's all. Just looking for clarification on what you meant. Because you might be saying something I actually agree with. I don't know. I just don't know what you mean. It wasn't extremely clear. This whole issue is going on throughout the entirety of the United States is as a direct result of the church not doing what the church has supposed to been doing, setting the example, making sure people understand right from wrong. They're not doing that. They participate in the wrongdoing. They accept the ways of the world. They fight against the things that God actually wants to have done, and they'll fight for the things that God doesn't want. That's wild work. It's become normal, though. Guessing Observer doesn't want to clarify, but that's okay. I won't address it till I know. Today's pain. Today it's starting to kick up a little bit, but it's okay. I think we try to put too much of the world's food on our plate and try to call it godly. It is not. The things that are happening right now are a issue for the laws of man to deal with, not us. This is a result of the laws of man. The government is not the chosen people. The government is not the body. You are. You might have people, members of the body, that work in government, but even then, you don't have the kind of say that the government has. The laws are still the laws. And he's told you to live within those laws. They are set over you. They're set over you. And if you want to honor God, then you would honor what it says. And since this is the issue we're talking about, the law is very explicit. It's not vague, it's very explicit about what is required to be here, to visit here, to move here from a foreign location. It's very set in stone. You may not like it. That's cool. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is. But you don't even put as much emphasis on the kingdom of God and follow his laws, but somehow you just go in fervently for the laws of man. And against it too. That's wild work. I don't understand it. You don't enforce God, which tells me you really don't have a concern for law at all in any kind. I just don't understand. What do you mean? Treat all foreigners as you would want to be treated? Who was he talking to? Who was that statement pointed at? Please tell me who the statement was for. Once we can do that, we can get a long ways ahead. Who was God talking to when he addressed them about the foreigner? Who was he speaking to? Simplest question I can ask. And I know where you're talking about. I just want to know if you know who he's speaking to. Hey, Sheila. Because that's of great consequences of who he speaks to when he's doing that. It's not to some governmental agency. It's not to a government of man. It's not to a kingdom of men. It's not that he's talking to. He's talking to his people, his chosen people in Leviticus. Again, my point is the conflation of the kingdom to man. God's kingdom has a separate requirement because it's of a holy requirement. Not so with the kingdom of man. So again, if you don't mind, Kevin, if you can tell me who the statement of the treat the foreigner statement, who's he talking to when he said that? and in what context. Because again, all that matters. And maybe you know, maybe you don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Guess not. How can we deal with family that insists on believing what is happening needs to be opposed using the Bible to defend their points? Let them. Let them. You let them believe what they believe. Let them believe what they need to believe. Please remember, you don't got to persuade nobody. The Word and the Holy Spirit does that. You don't got to persuade diddly squat. The people that abuse Scripture will have their just coming soon. Don't worry, their justice is coming. You don't have to. Not in the slightest do you have to. That's why I don't engage with the ones I see, the ones that say they're believers and they do that. I just don't engage with them because on a spiritual level, they're not gonna discern it. They don't want to discern it. They've already decided what they want, and they're using the ultimate authority as their reasons. You're not going to convince them. The only person that can convict them at this point it would be God, not you, not me, not anybody. Again, I'm going to read your statement to see if you answered the question. I did. Foreigners are the same as illegals. Jesus said, treat all foreigners as yourself. To whom was he speaking to? And in what location should you treat them as yourself? In the government or as the body of Christ? It's a simple question. I don't need to go watch anybody else's channel. That's why I have mine. Hope you realize that. I don't have to go and watch anybody else's channel. I have the word and I have a brain. So again, who did he speak to? Simple question. And you said Jesus said that. So go ahead, tell me where. Just tell me where. I'm just curious. That's all it is. That's just me just being curious. Come on, help me out. I just need your answers. That is all I want. Just I want it, want it. Give me that answer, baby. Give me that answer, baby. Give me that answer. No, no answer. No reiteration of your point. Nothing. Okay. I'll help him out by going over some things. When Jesus was talking to believers of the way, before he left this earth and before Christianity had taken its place and before the mandate of the church had come in, because it wouldn't come in beforehand. Christ had to die. This was before he passed away and resurrected again. He said things about loving your neighbor as yourself. Yes, indeed, he did. 100% agree. 100% agree. But again, that was to his flock, his people, not to the government. For I was hungry and you gave me, so that's for the body to do, not the government. When he talked about the banquet and the poor and the crippled and the blind, that was to the people, his people, again, not to the government. When he talked to religious leaders, he did not talk to the governmental agencies. He talked to the Pharisees and Sadducees, who said that they had the law of God. He did not speak to the law of man. So again, how is this applicable to man's law when you quote Jesus or even Leviticus? He never addressed the man-made laws. Never. Let's see. Nope, couldn't be there. Even in Matthew 25, it was talking about the role of the body and how they treat man, not the government. If people feel this adamantly about how illegals are being treated in America, if you feel that adamantly about it, you have a role to play, right? And within the rules of the government. If you want to house them, feed them, clothe them, treat them like neighbors, you also have to do that first by obeying the laws, because he put rulers over you. And he told you not to make their job a hardship. But when you do what you're doing now, you're making that job a hardship. What are you talking about? The law of the land wasn't to put a thing over my face. That's not in the books. It wasn't a jailable offense. You could be banned from certain locations. You could be not allowed to enter certain locations and just don't go. It was a built-in consequence all on its own. There was no law breaking in it. The not getting the stickity stick was an option for everybody to do or not do. The consequence was not working. People took the option of not doing it. It's a far cry from laws that are set in stone about people entering and leaving the United States. It's not even remotely comparable. I don't get it. I really don't. But again, I do. Because this has been the notion of the church for a while now. Whatever the government will allow, they will take into their ranks. Gay marriage happened, the church started to perform marriages for same-sex couples. Abortion was legalized, the church started to find ways to actually help with abortions. All the dark entity stuff, they will find a way to bandwagon on. Anything that has to do with that, they'll do it. Desiree, I did. Um, and I think I did that in 2022 twice. I did that in 2022, once on November 11th and then on November 18th. I did it. So if you want to go check that out, you can. I'll put you the first one in the comment here, Desiree, if you want it. Paste here. So there it is in the chat for you, Desiree. I'm only covering this because I do know that people are going to try and bring God into this in some way, shape, form, or fashion, as though he's upset and angry with what's happening because somebody died. Because again, none of these people spoke up when the opposite happened with people of legal status were killed by people who were not of legal status. I didn't hear you church folk that were upset at this much were upset then. You weren't upset then. You were fine then. You were silent then. So it's obviously not about the law or about the God thing. It's not. You are signaling something to people to make yourself seem virtuous, and you are not virtuous. You're anything but virtuous. You're not. Yeah, they did. Um, in a lot of ways, they did it a little bit more brutally. Um, it's really where we got our concept from. It's just a little bit more sterile now. Um, but it was more along the lines of sacrificial stuff than it was the way we have it now for convenience. They thought about it as much of a way to appease certain gods way back. They used to do that all the time, sacrificing it. It's no different now. It really isn't. You want an outcome, sacrifice the child. Again, I'll go back to the fact that he told us it's going to get increasingly more wicked on the earth, such as you have never seen before, where they would be able to take children. Listen to me. If it's going to get worse than it is now, worse than now, worse again, okay, and ever before, you're talking about a time, there was a time where they would build this furnace, but it was in the shape of their God. And they would put babies in the hands of this thing and cook them. Just set coals inside and burn them alive. That was evil, right? It's going to be worse. There's coming a time where that would be looked upon and be like, that wasn't as bad. Think about that for a minute. It's going to get worse than that. We have not seen the depravity of man yet. We've seen some, but we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it. This issue is not for us. It's it's a political one, and you can vote on it, and you can have a say politically, but this is not a job for the church. If any job that you have, if there is any, is to abide by the law put down. Pretty simple. Today is what, Wednesday already? Holy cow, that's wild. I'll give you an update. I went to see my doctor yesterday, the neurologist, and she isn't the one that's going to be possibly doing the surgery, but she is a neurologist, and so she walked me through some things that she saw, and some of it was good, some of it was still not that good. The good is that she doesn't see it going past 12 months. No, 10 months. 10 weeks. 10 weeks. Sorry, 12 weeks. She doesn't see it going past 12 weeks for me to be able to do anything again. So that's good. I'll be mobile after about 8 weeks. So that's still better than the prognosis of the 9-month issue. Um, However, the full recovery is not until maybe about a year or so after. Um, and then where I thought they were going to be going through this back area here, that's not the option. The option is still here. So they still got to go through my throat area. So it'll be interesting. I'll meet with the and now I just got to wait again. I won't be able to go in to see the actual surgeon until March 12th, 13th, somewhere in there. Let me see here. March. Yeah, I won't be able to. March 16th is when I got my appointment. So I'll have to go through all of February, rest of January, and half of March before I see any reprieve. So where I thought it was going to be sooner, it's not. So it won't be anytime soon. Just so you know. I did ask them to try and get me some approved therapy or something to help with the pain, but I don't know if that'll go through or not. So we'll see. In any case, we will be back with Savage this afternoon, 6:30 Eastern. Make sure you check us out then. Don't know the topic yet. I got to get with them fellas to find out exactly what we're going to talk about. But there's a lot going on. So there'll be plenty to talk about. I just haven't picked which one yet. So, all right, cool. Scrolling at the bottom, you know what to do. If nothing else, abide, people. Deal with the things he tell you to do first and then figure the rest out. Figure the rest out after. That's all fine and dandy, but that's water. I will rather go through a rack stretching me on land than water therapy. Just telling you, I'll go through more pain so I don't have to do with water. I'll be fine with that one. The injection thing does not work on me. My burnability of things in my body is too high. Where you might take a pill for pain that might last you 4 or 5 hours, I might get an hour and a half out of it if I'm lucky. They did the shots before on multiple parts of my body, and they told me you'll have at least a couple of weeks, if not a month of relief. By the next day, it was done. No more helping with the pain. So my body has a very high burn rate for chemicals in the body. It just burns it off. It doesn't keep it. So we'll see. I'm working on that, Desiree. I just have to figure out how to do it legally with the AI issue. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. That's my problem. Now that I know. And no, listen, God pulled me from that for a reason. He said, you should not be in there. That's why I don't go back. I'm not going back. I have turned from my wicked, evil ways. I am not going back to water. When he pulled me out of that bondage, I'm good. Thank you. Y'all want to go back to bondage? Have fun with the bondage, but not me. Left bondage, I left out of Egypt. Free. I'm free. I'm free indeed. I ain't trying to go back to water. And I done been baptized already. I ain't need to go back and do that neither. I'm good. I'm good. I'm not going back. Anyway, y'all have a grand rest of your day. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, 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 please find wisdom. Peace.
There are places in the world that feel cold and out of place. There are scenes that make you crumple into sand. There are things still left untold. Some things make you question grace, but don't you let them get life out of hand. In your house I find real peace. In your house we find the least. In your house the weary enter into rest. In your house is true release. In your house is warmth and ease. In your house is where life truly is the best. I can only see the now, and it makes me ask how come life never handed me a silver spoon. Truth is I never bowed, only gave to you my song. Yet you called me out and brought me